Well, today marks 10 days into the month of March, 10th March 2023. Good morning, Uganda Friday special. Well, we are here at 8 again to make sure that we start off the day with you. But of course, trying to conclude the week as we are transitioning into the weekend mode. It's been quite a very busy week. I must say, celebrations have been pushing us left and right. But you know what? Everything obviously comes to an end, but the celebrations don't. Well, we're still celebrating women here on Good Morning Uganda. I did promise you at the start of the week that this whole week we are dedicating it to the special women in all the special categories here in Uganda. We'll be celebrating them, and we did that day by day. We had a category we were celebrating. Well, my name is Philomena Masco, and today being Friday, and because it's special, we have a lot of entertainment stacked up for you from Adobe and among other conversations we'll be sharing with you because why not? We love to talk and we would love for you to talk with us. That is why we always encourage you to get into our socials. Let us know what you think. Share your 2 cents on the topics up for discussions. And yes, let's see how this morning is going to go. Well, the full house is back in finally. At the start of the week, we did have we were seeing a couple faces, others missing, but today I'm very happy and honored to tell you we're already in the house. Uncle Bob Mullen is back, and of course Felix Nkunda as well. Starting Mullen, good morning, welcome back where you've been, from where you've been. We missed you so much, and I want to think that your International Women's Day was quite a wonderful one, because mine, I cannot really complain about it. How are you doing?
Perfect. Good morning to you, Philomena, and I want to say good morning to our viewers. Well, I was somewhere close to where the International Women's Day celebrations were done. That is in Barra, and I can tell you it was quite a conducive environment to be there, and you know, seeing a lot that happened, especially when you talk about you know, how I liked how we were talking about women in you know, innovation and all these roles that women have had to take on. I can tell you, as Uganda, we're doing, we are quite somewhere. We are quite somewhere, and that is something that should be exciting. I think we have moved away from where the world used to kind of put a line, you know, putting gender roles at a different kind of level. As women, you're supposed to be doing this and not this. I think we've broken that barrier, and that is something to be proud of, that, you know, at least even our country has accorded that. You also look at the fact that over time women have had to actually, I think, do it themselves. But still, there is no equality there, and I know this is something that Uncle Bob will still come in to say, women are always asking for equality. Yes, there is no equality there, because you look at even some of the things that, when we talk about participation, some of the gender roles would actually hinder you from having full participation into a certain activity or into something, because while imagine a day where you have to attend a meeting, yes, and you know, a man is okay going there, but for you, just before you get to go for the meeting, you have a sick child and you cannot now just, you know, go for this meeting. There are some gender roles that are just natural and have always kept us behind, not because of our own making, but because sometimes it's inevitable. And I think even when we break barriers, that equality is not yet there. And sometimes it's just a place you have to accept that this is where I am. How do I now, you know, put probably double my efforts to measure up? Otherwise, there's always going to be quite a step that is missed in there somewhere.
Well, indeed, there is still quite a lot that we have to do, but I also do believe that we have done something, at least for now. Felix Nkunda, Friday is upon us. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. How are you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm okay. How are you doing?
Well, awesome. You said we're allowed to say Happy Friday.
Yes.
Happy end of the week. Is that like that?
You can, at this point, you can say anything. Happy end of the week. Happy Friday. I will not apprehend you for it.
Well, Friday it is. Lots of things that await our accomplishment. As a matter of fact, of course, the weekend is also one of those things that we are excited about, yet also quite a lot awaits to be executed normally for weekends.
Yes.
Because everything you fail to do during the weekdays,
you push to the weekend. Yes.
The weekends. So you end up having a very busy weekend, rather. But something interesting, yesterday I was talking to one of my friends, someone who works on radio somewhere, and she was telling me, I got this letter from a lady who was asking for some advice. From the day Manchester was beaten 7 goals, her husband has since then gone into some sort of trauma state. The guy is not performing anything in terms of even the bedroom work, like guy is in total shock of life. And the chick is like, how do I move on? Like, I have tried everything possible.
But for
I didn't know this thing has so much power. Honestly, I didn't know. The guy is not eating, or like.
But why? Yesterday there was a match, I believe, between Manchester United and another team, and they scored, I think, about 4 goals. Shouldn't that be some sort of compensation or some sort of consolation from the 7 goals?
I wish it was.
You wish it was that easy?
I don't know what would a woman do in such a situation.
I need one day somebody to sit me down and help me understand the kind of relationship men have with soccer. And I'm not saying that it's a bad relationship, but I feel like I need to have an inner understanding, the dynamics of this relationship, the way football impacts its male fans. I cannot even begin to explain. I even feel like Ruben will not give me a clear picture of how. I can only see it, but I want to understand how it works.
Some of us have lost friends along the way because of this whole thing called like.
I mean, I have seen people become very violent towards each other on social media.
Some people because of what they
because of football.
Their insensitiveness when they're around us and how they talk about our clubs and all that.
Imagine that? Can you imagine that? But anyway, I don't know if Uncle Bob can tell us. I don't know if he's a soccer fanatic. I know he has some interest, but it's limited. However, I'd love to hear from him. Good morning, Uncle Bob.
Good morning to you. Good morning, the entire team, and of course our viewers. Thank you so much for waking up with us. Now, that 7-goal thing, it really hurt Manchester fans, those that are really so much into football. And for me, I received a shock when I was asking someone for their number, and he said 0, Manchester, 0, 2, 3, Manchester, 0, 6, 2, Manchester. So I say, what are you telling? He said, where there is Manchester, put 7. So I knew this is how bad the thing is. So if people are giving out phone numbers like that, where there's a 7, you put Manchester. So in case you're asking someone for their number, most of soccer fanatics, and then they come out and they tell you 0, Manchester, 0, you know, just put 7 there. But I think we should know that this is a sport. And these are challenges even we have in our politics, that we don't understand things that first there has to be a winner and a loser. And in football, they don't define the number of goals you're supposed to get. Of course, 7 is so much. It's like more like it was netball or maybe
7
basketball.
Was just so much disrespect. We need to acknowledge that.
But for me, I feel soccer is soccer. It's a game. And when you're loving football, you should be limited. Well, Molen will come back. I like the fact when she said, but I think there's some statement she made, and I feel women should not fight for equality. They should fight for equal opportunities, not so? I think that is the right thing, because on Women's Day I saw something I didn't like, that the educated ladies understand these things very well.
Yes.
But sometimes when they are trying to do advocacy, which is not wrong, maybe some, not all, the packaging of the information is wrong. When someone says because it is Women's Day, men should cook, this, that, you know. If a man does it out of love and will, and it is okay, but it's not a must. I'm not cooking, I'm not doing anything. No, so you should push for equal opportunities, but not equality. Because that is when we are going to go wrong if we think we are equal. Men are okay in their position, women are okay in their position, but let's provide equal opportunities for all of us to bring out the best of us, but not fight for being equal.
Absolutely. Well, good morning, Uganda Friday special. We are still with you. Time for us to look at our story highlights. Local and international stories. Robert and Felix will be taking us through some of this.
And of course, looking at our stories this morning, what we have, very interesting stories are here, but I'll begin with NSSF and Honorable Minister Betty Amongi, where Parliament yesterday adopted with amendments the report of the Select Committee on the State of Affairs at the National Social Security Fund. The prominent item among the recommendations is for the immediate resignation of the Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, whom the report faults for abuse of office. Minister Betty Amongi, who tried thick and thin to convince the House on her innocency, becomes the second minister to have been caught offside by the 11th Parliament.
Now, refugees and host communities in the Nile West region and northern Uganda want last-mile power connections expedited. West Nile district of Ajumani, Ayumbe, Koboko are of the main beneficiaries of the Norwegian Agency for Development-funded refugee resettlement rural electrification projects.
And moving on, recently, fire gutted boys' dormitory at Chamate Secondary School in Tungamo district, and one student died, others survived with injuries. As way of friend in need, students from different schools under their umbrella organization, the Uganda National Students Association, have contributed books and pens to support the survivors continue with their studies.
Now, President Yoweri Museveni has said no one will cut the operation budget of the Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation as long as he's still President of Uganda. He says the government cannot make such a mistake because Uganda currently needs science and innovation more than before to achieve the desired science-led socio-economic transformation.
And international stories, a number of people have been killed in a shooting at a Jehovah's Witness meeting hall in the North German city of Hamburg. Police say a gunman is believed to be dead. It is unclear if the attacker is among 6 or 7 fatalities reported by German media. As yet, there is no reliable information on the motive, according to police. A number of people were also injured in the shooting on Delbourg Street in the city's Gross Borstel district. Police say they found a dead person at the scene who they believe may have been a perpetrator, and investigations are continuing. Police were called around 21:15 to report that shots had been fired in the building. Police spokesperson Holger Vehern said officers who went in found people who may have been seriously injured by firearms, some of them fatally, he said. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has rejected calls for the United States military to intervene to stem drug cartel violence in Mexico, saying such a move would violate the country's sovereignty. During a news conference on Thursday, López Obrador said his government was not going to permit any foreign government to intervene in our territory, much less that a government's armed forces intervene. In addition to being irresponsible, it is an offense to the people of Mexico, he said, adding that Mexico does not take orders from anyone. On Wednesday, Texas Republican Dan Crenshaw released a message in Spanish asking López Obrador why he opposed the proposal the congressman introduced in January authorizing U.S. military force to target drug cartels in Mexico.
Has postponed by a week the election to pick new governors, saying it needed more time to reconfigure electronic machines that are at the center of a highly contested presidential vote last month. Originally due on Saturday, the polls to pick governors in 28 of the country's 38 states will now be held on March 18th. The Independent National Electoral Commission said in a statement late yesterday that it needed more time to reconfigure its bimodal voter accreditation system that uses fingerprints and facial recognition to identify voters and transmit results from polling stations. The same BVAS machines were used during the presidential and parliamentary vote that was on February 25th. And in climate news, Belgium and Dutch farmers are protesting because they are losing their livelihoods in the name of fighting climate change as European governments seek to reduce emissions of nitrogen oxide and ammonia, necessary inputs of modern agriculture. Will American farmers and consumers soon face the same fate? European farmers are being told that because of the aim for net zero emissions of greenhouse gases and the other pollutants in 2050, their industry is being phased out if they cannot adapt. The US Congress will pass a farm bill this year, and with the Inflation Reduction Act funneling $20 billion of climate funds into agriculture, American farmers could face similar pressures.
Looking at more stories from our papers, the dailies this morning, that is the Daily Monitor and the New Vision. Well, I will start off with the Daily Monitor and Felix taking us through that.
Orders URA off bank clients' accounts, okay? And of course, House wants Amongi out and Byarugaba punished over NSSF. Now in the scoop, Joshua Baraka is here, and of course, Health Ministry seeks 2.7 billion to Folubowa Hospital. And of course, they tell you here what the president had to say, Matia Kasaija, and later on, of course, the Minister for Health, that is Dr. Jane Ruther Cheng. And government plans 70 billion payout for ESCOM, an anti-homosexuality bill tabled in the House. But also, we did everything to save Kakuru, Chief Justice.
And looking at the New Vision, mergers, over 100 commissioners are set to lose jobs. Now, changes across ministries will be taking effect on July 1st. Judiciary mourns Kakuru, and looking at NSSF saga, Parliament adopts probe committee report, and Kayanja meets a South Sudan leader, and First Lady directs universities on quality. And finally, for your entertainment, pull out the beats. Will artists survive TikTok music? All of that in the New Vision. So go ahead, get yourself a copy, and the Daily Monitor as well. Good morning, Uganda Friday special is still going on. We will go for a break, and when we get back, we'll be having some more conversations that matter in the wee hours of the day. We'll be back.
This is Good Morning Uganda. Pick of the day on UBC.
If I'm looking at issues of taxation and all that, I will definitely run for the Kateshumbas. Okay? Okay. If I look at, if I'm looking at issues of investments and what, I would definitely run. I would definitely run for Dr. Emure Kugonza and Honorable Omara. Okay? If I'm looking at issues of the law, I will run for our very, very own people. I have the Oboso Bosses, I have the Katuntus, I have the Robin Arwakojos. So everyone is talented in one way or another.
Did you mention Katuntu?
Okay? Yes.
Is he yours?
Yes, he is.
Yours as in NRM?
He is.
Was brought to you by Catering MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transaction. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
hash. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or keep a bundle today. Dial star 100 star 10 hash to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello? Hello? This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me.
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Good morning, Uganda Friday special. We are here. It's exactly 7 a.m. on this 10th day of March 2023. My name is Philomena Masco, and with the whole crew in the house, that is Amolen, Uncle Bob, and Felix. And since we are still celebrating women, we did talk about women in different professionals, those in the health sector, those in the media. We looked at those in the education sector, to mention those in the military service. Well, today being a Friday, we want to look at the women specifically in the music and entertainment industry here in Uganda. Well, somebody once said that we live and breathe music, unintentionally or intentionally, whether you know it or not. Somehow you have been a big beneficiary of music. But we also do have the people who give us that music that we breathe, both men and women. Well, today we want to traverse some of the contributions we do believe that women have brought to the music industry, to the entertainment scene. What have they changed? What is different? Are we seeing shifts? Are we seeing women taking up more opportunities that have been available to them in this music industry? And if they have actually used them as they are expected to, or if they've probably not given them some much more effort to make sure that they really get deep-rooted into them, but also looking through some of the challenges that are being faced by some of the women who are actively taking part in this industry. Well, all of that we'll be talking this morning between us and you. Let us know, get onto our Twitter, #UBCGMU. And of course, go ahead and use our WhatsApp platform 0709-602-592. But first things first, and I mean, this is a question that I would really want to bounce off to all of us here. Giving the general overview, I know that the four of us here love music, both for men and women here in Uganda, and I don't know who probably to start with. Maybe I should take it off from Felix. In your opinion, do you think women, especially those in the entertainment and music industry here in Uganda, have made a stamp in that specific industry?
Well, it's there's been an effort. If you want a general answer or directly into it, there's been an effort, clearly also owing to the fact that the space in the arts industry has been by far cluttered with the other gender, which should be the men. As a matter of fact, it's one of the hardest things, if you have ever had interaction with some of these ladies, to make a stamp in this art industry as a woman, which is more or less the general fabric of appreciation in terms of that particular gender when it comes to anywhere else anyway. You know, same thing that we did also have a discussion yesterday when I was talking with Robert here on the show about how hard it is for women sometimes to make a statement for those positions that are not cut out for women. Because there is no audience that may appreciate any form of art simply because one comes off as a woman.
Yes.
Now, that in its own disguise defeats the purpose of whether or not it's any easy for them. Because at the end of the day, the quantification would be given on a spectrum of other measurements or other productions of either men or fellow women. So, in a nutshell, it's not been any easy. However, there's been a tremendous approach towards making a statement in the industry. And I can give you lines of examples of such people. You would want to stretch far, far, far back and look at people like the Mariam Dagides of this world. You know, the Wanyana Ruth,
Sophie Gombia.
The Sophie Gombias of this world, the Joanita Kawalias. You would also want to stretch back into radio. You look at the Juliana Kanyomozi. You can imagine at a very early age they were taking over radios. You go to TV. You know, the people we have known for a long, long time. In terms of anchoring, you know very many faces. You come to performances, the Leilas, Kachapizo, and very many other people. Now, when you try to bring out those names, you find that each name mentioned has a particular place of struggling somewhere to find its space between other genders. For example, you remember groups like the Bakayimbira.
The Bakayimbira Dramactors. Yes.
You had the Diamond Assembles. All these ones, go to the bands, the Afrigo bands, you find that out of 7 or 10 men, there's a lady there, you know, or 2 or 1, and who don't have a very, very much major role in that, you know. So I can't say it's been any easy, given the fact that there's been a statement made, but it's been very, very hard amidst, again, what normally clouds the thriving of women is, we talked about culture, society, and all these kind of things. But if most recently you've seen a tremendous change as well with how women have taken center stage in terms of achieving in arts and performances. We have people who have been able to touch out the international stages. We didn't ever think that individually comedians like Anka and Simi would internationally be recognized. We have seen her performances being taken globally on GoTV, on DSTV, and you know, she has had single performances internationally. You can imagine. You've had people like Karunji Shiba be nominated for accolades like Afrima. You've had people like Mariam Dagile carry on their careers individually. For example, I think she owns Trends movie something, and she has been able to carry that on and produce various movies. She has over over 3 productions I know that have been appreciated internationally, and that include productions of various plays, both stage and filmed, you know, just to mention but a few. So there's been quite an effort to see that it all gets well. At least if you ask, as you asked earlier, have they made a statement? Yes, they have.
Yes.
Amidst all challenges.
Okay. Well, while we are discussing that, you did talk about you know, some of these areas that have been probably considered, I don't know by who or by default, that maybe women may not exactly be able to execute them. And this is what I want to bounce off to you, Robert. Yes, we do acknowledge that there is progress being made. We are seeing more women take up the industry and arts, the entertainment and arts industry, yes. But also my concern goes, especially when it comes to work behind the scenes. I will tell you, for example, when it comes to music production, when it comes to having mix engineers or sound engineers, I will tell you for sure that there are very few women in these areas. Okay, one or two. When we look at having or owning up production houses, how many women actually own that? Probably they're there and we may not know, but they're not as many, and they may not be as prominent as we actually know the men. In fact, if we're to mention, it's a handful. So I'm just wondering what makes it a little bit hard for women to take on those spaces. Is it that they cannot actually execute their responsibilities? Is it because that the platforms are not available to them? Is it because they hold themselves back? What do you think could be the reasons as to why we don't see women taking on more of the technical bits in the arts industry? Indeed, like we're talking about having equal opportunities, especially in technology this year for the women. So the technical bit, why are women not really more visible in these spaces, especially in this industry?
The entertainment industry, there is a way it portrays women to begin with. I want to give a very simple example. Felix talked about music and mentioned the number of these bands and said you would have about 10 men and then you have two ladies there. But what would be the role of the ladies? Queen dancers. Have you heard of that one?
Yes.
Literally, they are doing nothing but to dance. And what would their dress code be? Short, very short dresses. This part almost, the tummy is half naked, is half out. There's a way, they say that the entertainment industry, most if you look at performing arts, put the lady. Look at advertising agencies. I think it is of late with a lot of activism that now we are still seeing, some of these posters being decent, you know? Look at a number of adverts on TV. How do they portray a woman? She has to be half naked. She has to be in a way that somehow makes her like just something that people must look at and pick interest. Contrary to what the man is, even if they are queen dancers and they have their, if they are called king dancers, I don't know. You find that the brothers are very smart, body covered, while the sisters are the ones that are making half naked. Now, that definition, go to artists. I don't remember which female artist came in Uganda. She was international. Mullen follows these things very well. And we had curtain raisers who were our sisters here in Uganda. She came, I think, last year. And our sisters were shocked. Because they came in skimpy dresses, see-me-throughs, that indecent dressing. And guess this lady was dressed like you. Remember that? I'm trying to recall which film. Yes, Felix, thank you so much. Remember what happened?
Yes.
They have come and they think that is what it's going to be. My dear, this woman came and still she performed, and you know. But one of the things that I was watching these clips, I said, okay. So this is what we've defined our ladies. That is why even when it comes to, first, it makes it very hard for them to make a breakthrough.
Yes.
But also too, they have accepted their position in this industry.
They've become comfortable with
They
the
have become
system.
comfortable. For us, we can sing, we can dance. When we go to also the factors that we discussed yesterday, which is religion and culture, those two things, they had to discuss in Uganda, and many people fear discussing them, by the way. But they have also held women back. One, access to sources of funding or so that they can acquire some of these properties. But also there's that mentality. If you go to, for example, you're just seeing female DJs rising up now. But previously, people had that mentality, a woman DJ? You know, so they have the issue of culture, religion, but also that mentality that it's the man who can do it better. And this is sometimes cross-cutting. Someone will tell you, I went, you mean this surgeon, a lady? You get that?
Yes.
And there's that. So it doesn't only end in the music industry, that when they tell Philomena, who has a song, that, you know, so-and-so is the producer. Philo may feel, no, I need a male producer.
Yes.
So-and-so is going to be your promoter. You know, no, I need a male promoter. Someone told you that, well, you're having machines and the lady is going to handle them. Someone would first think, but what we have complications along the way.
Yes.
So the factors that are holding women, in all spheres, by the way, they still remain the same to us. But just the only difference when it comes to entertainment is the women in the entertainment industry, I want to say some of them have become very complacent.
Yes.
They are content and they have defined themselves that this is our cake in the entertainment industry. For us, we shall be king dancers. Of course, not forgetting that it's also becoming, you see, that is one of the industries, when you speak to some of the ladies that have made it, who are willing to tell their true story. Not all have gone through what I'm going to say, but many will tell you, who are willing and open to tell you their journey in this industry. There has been so much sexual exploitation. Go to these poor girls in these bands, you know, in these different groups. This one slept with so, this one slept with so, buying favors, this one giving you a platform, giving you this song. If there is any industry where there has been sexual exploitation of the female, I think the highest is, that is the entertainment sector. And these are some of the barriers that you may not see them take on these bigger roles, because these have not been solved and these have seemingly defined them and what they can do in that sector.
Okay. Well, I'm going to bounce this to you, Molen. As women, especially those in the arts industry, the music, filmmaking and all of that, do you think we have contributed something? Have we made our mark as yet, or we are still trying as hard as we should to make sure that we don't go unrecognized? We don't, you know, meet a bunch of people talking about music and arts, and their conversation is only male oriented or it's male dominated, and you're not hearing a female anywhere. Do you think we have made a mark as yet here in the Ugandan industry?
Oh, well, definitely we have, and I think we can also talk about the fact that most of the contributions that a lot of women have gotten out there and success stories are just less talked about, but there are a lot of success stories that I think a lot of women have taken pride in. And even as the gentlemen were talking about here, focusing on the music industry, we have seen a great contribution from the women in the industry themselves, and Felix did mention a lot of those. Right from the beginning, they have had to actually go and you know, make a mark in the music industry in this country. But we also have to recognize that that has not gone probably beyond East Africa for a reason, and well, that is still there, and something that we know there is still a lot that the upcoming or the new musicians that have come on board could actually break and probably take the music beyond levels. You just gave an example of Tiwa Savage. These are also women that are coming from Africa, and most of their music even in local languages, but also including English, but they have been able to at least go beyond Africa or even go beyond their countries. So that is something that we still want to see Ugandan musicians at least take on. We would want to see you know, someone at least have their music so popular across the African continent. That has not been done in the music scene. But I think we have registered more success stories, especially talking about the film industry. Recently we did see that is Eleanor Nabuiso,
Yes.
her movie that is Bed of Thrones, getting an award at the African level, that is Africa Focus Award, for the film that was best on experiences from women, about gender equality, about, the usual lifestyle of a woman and the challenges they go through. That is a film that was recognized. I was even seeing a documentary run by some of the international media like BBC talking about how at least Nabuiso has contributed a lot when it comes to telling the story of women in that entertainment industry. And you see a lot, because you do have, actually I like the fact that she brought in some of the women that have had challenges in that, in regard to gender issues. She did bring in, that is Martha Kay, to talk about her story. She was part of the movie. But you see a lot of stories that have come up, at least women are no longer keeping quiet. And that is something that needed to be told. And I'm glad that it actually went beyond Uganda and it was, being put across. We've also seen a lot of female directors, apart from Nabuiso, that have also contributed a lot into bringing in gender roles, making sure that you have a movie, it is made in Uganda, it is directed in Uganda, but you are also telling a story of a normal Ugandan woman, what they go through at the workspace. That is something that I think in that regard we've seen entertainment. You did talk about comedy. They have also put in a lot, and I think what Anne Kansime has done is commendable. You can go to South Africa right now, and someone, when you tell them you're from Uganda, there is Anne Kansime, that comedian. She has actually gone that level, and I think those are some of the personalities you look at, and like they didn't have to sit back and wait for help somewhere, but they saw the space, they took it on. Way back, comedy used to be done by men, and now for her to take it to that level, that is something very commendable. Yes, there is a gap there. You look at most of the stand-up comedians, still dominantly you'll find more male figures. So I think there is still a lot that they can do, although they are success stories. But you also look at majorly, I think what is hindering the success is sometimes, the whole bias around it. There is space you would want to take, but you feel like people are going to think this is not something that is easily done by women. Yes. I was listening to a story of that woman, I think, who took on Safe Border at a very early stages of Safe Border when it had just been introduced in Uganda.
Yes.
And she was talking about the fact that sometimes she would not get customers because they will be like, oh, this is a woman. Some of them, when she shows up, you just order for the number, and then when she shows up, they're just surprised, like, oh, you're a woman. And she sees the reaction.
Yes.
It's not what they
there is an instant,
yeah, there is that biasness right there.
Yes.
So because she would want to take on that role, but she's like, how will people look at it? And that is still a challenge, a huge challenge. So unless you have someone that is already in that industry, you at least have something to lean on. But I can assure you that it's that kind of biasness that has taken them down. You want to take on a certain career, but you feel like this is not a female career. How will society look at me? And over time, you've also seen women who have been involved in engineering, electric engineering. At time you find a woman on an electric pole and you're like, oh, okay, that's different. So they also feel like, okay, this is not my world maybe. But it's what they can do. I mean, this woman has studied engineering and she knows what to do.
Yes.
She can do the job.
She has
actually.
the skills.
Yeah.
She can actually execute everything. Yes.
Yeah. But then she feels like no one is appreciating that. There is actually a place where you will find they will come to hire an electric engineer, and between a female and a male there, someone will easily pick a man. They feel like, I know this is able enough. But this is the person who says, I am qualified.
Even plumbers, I have plumbers.
Exactly.
I've seen that like twice or thrice. People tell no, this woman cannot actually work on my house. You offering me plumbing services, I don't trust her.
So there is that gender biasness, and you find actually this person is very well qualified, could have done the job much better. And by the way, I have to recognize women are very good at getting things done. The moment this person says, I'm going to get this done, probably they would even do it better than a man. But there is that thing that we need to break. And I think there's also been steps towards that. We've seen, you know, I think a lot on social media. There was, I think, a key figure on social media. She had a cleaning company. I think that was Malaika. I think we even had her on one of the UBC shows here. She started a cleaning company herself, and she would actually post it on social media openly and say, I am here if you need cleaning services. I do this, painting houses. She even, you know, does such activities. She can paint a house. She can, all these things that you would think some women are actually afraid to say they do. She's like, no, I can do it. And she was actually getting very successful with that company. So I think it also takes an extra step to get there. Well, people will look down on you or think you cannot take that space. But then over and over, women have had to prove themselves. And that is not fair, because the men don't have to prove themselves. But you as a woman, to actually even convince someone I can take on this role, you have to double your effort.
Do you think there's a
which
reason
is
for
quite...
that? Why do you think it's that way?
No, this is why I'm saying there is just biasness right there that has made women feel like they are not being picked
Felix
on.
should explain to us why these biases are
just
there.
Be bias.
Yeah.
Yes, bias could be one of the contributors, but probably there are many other reasons.
Which are?
Well, you talked about hard work. Now, hard work sometimes becomes a little bit handy. You know, for example, you want to get a plumber who's a lady or a man. And even just between the two or four of us here, who would you want to? Who would you prefer because of the kind of handiness that comes with this kind of work?
But the handiness, what is that handiness?
And that is what we are trying to talk about.
That's what we're trying to say.
What makes you think that the women that the women don't have the handiness? If they have the skills, if they have the qualifications, first leave the ones that are masquerading, the ones who can actually get the real job done. Don't you think that some incompetent men may get away with that because they do believe they rely so much on the stereotype that people have against women? You find that an incompetent man gets the opportunity, and a woman who would have ideally been competent enough to execute it loses it. Don't you think there is a possibility?
No, I believe that there's
Yes.
no doubt, and I can tell you I've experienced it myself. I have many times gone to hardware places. Like just a couple of days, I went to a place called Cementas, it's Uganda Cementas, somewhere along Gaza Road, to buy Max pans and tiles and all this. And then when we parked the car, we were waiting for people to come and load. And guess who came?
Women.
A group of women. So I stood there thinking, okay, I'm like, let me see how these ladies do this thing. But they were so free, and they just made sort of like a line, and they were throwing these Max pans. This is a 10-kilogram item per piece. And before we knew, the car was actually full. Of course, there was just one man who was probably even the one arranging, but the rest was the work was done. I have interfaced with women on various sites. I've personally gotten women coming to my place where I'm doing some little work, and they want these jobs. And that's the question behind my head.
The site engineers.
Like, I'm thinking, because they come, they'd be like, no, not engineers, to casual
casual laborers.
And I'm like, we need to have sun on the second floor. Like, guys, can you really, and I really want to work with you, but can you pull this off? The chick is like, will you dare me? And before you know, sometimes they're actually into it more than some of these men. And they may not have to take the same portions of weight or what, but you find that their consistency is quite interesting. And probably that also comes directly into what you're asking in terms of this industry. We have seen particularly this strength in effort. I can tell you, it is not this art industry. I don't want to speak like I'm directly, but I'm directly like into it. But I have been close to this industry very, very much. But one of the hardest industries to penetrate is that industry.
That's true.
It may seem easy when you listen to someone's music and you're like, but I can tell you,
the people who have shared their
some
stories
of us,
and they're
I
horrendous.
have known some of these artists for more than 15 years. I know what it has taken them to become who they are. For example, people who started out as dancers like the Shivas, the Helen Nokomas, the Jackie, remember the Desi's, what was the name of that
Obsession.
group? Obsession.
Yes.
Now, transiting from that young girl from school, because I remember at that point when most of those girls were in about S5 or so. Now, transiting from that being a dancer, some of them have been victimized for having bad voices. You've heard of some of these memes, like when I hear something they were saying about Shiba's show that was at Serena.
Yes.
Remember that spicy Diana, that you have a good stage, but
the stage presence
transiting
is, yes.
beyond. Now you're attacking spicy Diana for her here not having what, but there's someone here who's singing, a gentleman who's singing enyama negumba, egumba nenyama, and you know, but the person, no one wants to talk about that because
yes.
they are a man.
Yes.
And for them, it's okay for a man to err in the industry. And I can give you an example. Imagine if these collidings that have been happening between Bebe Cool, Chameleon, and Bob, like for all this time, were between women. Do you know what would be said?
I mean, Felix, we've had a few hiccups here and there. Some of these misunderstandings, they may not have been even to that extent, but I can tell you right now, the judgment is intense.
And there's a way it all has to do with gender. But it's the same exact thing, or even worse. And that should take you back to the and that's what I was asking, trying to find out from Molly. Like, the problem is bigger than what we are trying to discuss here. The stereotype has grown and has clamored almost every aspect that someone can breathe through. Now, you may want to look at it as arts and performing, but the truth of the matter is that the problem starts from somewhere. I gave you an example yesterday with Bobby when I talking, and we asked, if you accept to ordain women as reverends in church, what's wrong with ordaining them as bishops? These are the things that people may not appreciate to have a discussion about, but they're the realities.
Why are they limited to a certain level?
As it affects this side in what you want to call arts and what, it's the same exact challenge that is in churches. What's the space of women in terms of religion?
Now there should be a balance.
You know,
I think we need to explore how do we create a balance now.
When you answer that question, where is the problem? Where is the problem? If today, and sadly, you're having fellow women failing to, it's what we was asking, what's the role of women achievers in supporting women growth? When you look at a country like this, and for me, I am very disappointed and disgusted by this whole deception that comes with naming 3 women. Then we are all up in arms. Hey, you name 2 women, and then you start shouting for us, the CEO of this, the Ismail Idi of this, that is not the true representation of a woman in Uganda. Like when you're celebrating days like what day was
International Women's Day.
Yes. If you don't have the brains as the organizers to invite the women in Butali in markets, where are they? The real heroes, those are the real heroes when you're talking about women.
Who is actually representing them, aside and talking about their real issues and
then you see these functions are full of minister, MP,
female MPs.
That's bogus. These women who sweep the roads, I told you, as you talk about, who is, now, for example, the discussion you're having, who is talking about the women in arts? But the whole discussion goes to Here we have a number of ministers in the cabinet, so.
But also the women in arts used these platforms to bring out, because...
How, Robert?
Let me just give you an example, Felix. We all agree that music, there is power in music. For those who have studied history, and they're good students of history, when you go to South Africa and you look at the power of music during the apartheid regime, where we had a lot of messages being communicated through, that is actually music, a lot of communication, mobilization through music. You'll ask yourself, when we see these ladies, because they have equally, some of them, a number of them, have gotten platforms. Today, if Juliana Kanyomozi led a campaign maybe about girl child education, you'd find that this would have power in it. Today, if Shiba, Juliana, Spice Diana, Cindy and others came out as women in music and said, now, this is what we're advocating for, believe you me, there would be so much listening to them. And even they would be able to get some support. So the few that have made it, if we are to use the few, what have they done to be voices to the rest?
To help out the rest that
to help out
haven't
the
been-
rest.
Yes.
What messages do they bring out in their music? You know, music should not only be about love, you know, about passion. Yes, I believe love communicates very fast, but what is the nature of the songs? Because sometimes people may not fight for your space. It's you to fight for your space.
Yes.
And how organized are you? How focused are you to say that no, we must end sexual exploitation? How do you ensure that a talented girl, like when we saw how the Blue Threes came on, you know, talented girl maybe can meet a promoter, can meet like these guys of Swanks Avenue, groups like that. They are promoters, and I think, you know, and how do we come up with better academies? How do we knock doors? How do we open windows, you know? So I also feel if there is anything they have done, the women in the arts industry, there is still little that they have done for themselves. They are more or less like the journalists. You know, journalists will speak for everyone's problem.
Until it gets to our own.
They will cover everyone's problem. You know, we will run, we'll identify kids that have been abandoned. When doctors go on strike because of so, we shall give them media space. When nurses go, the journalists themselves, a house full of problems, actually on fire. Who is speaking for them? So I believe the women in this industry still have to come out and they say, no, let's have a mission. It's not all about me shining and being the top female artist in Uganda, but I have also to have this at the back of my mind. They may have their beefs, but if they said, let's be focused to eliminate some of these things, I believe they can go a great mile than what they are currently doing.
Can we say that they have just, after winning and registering their successes in the music industry and making their breakthroughs, they have kept it to themselves? They've become a little bit selfish.
Yes,
They're
I
not-
know of
yes.
some of them. One time we're having some, trying to make some promotion, and this young girl came with problems, and a senior, let me use the word, senior musician said, for you, you're lucky. By the time for us we joined this industry, sleeping was the order of the day to get you there. Now you're just complaining. You know, instead of saying no, this must end. But they're saying it's like a parent who says, I used to walk 7 miles to school.
So my child should also walk 7
So if a
miles.
child is coming, even
when there are options that would make it slightly
I used to
better.
go with, before you're talking about taking
I'm sure
a
Felix
container.
would subscribe to something like that.
You're taking
You
a
would.
container, and at least I could. For me, I went on an empty stomach to study.
Because that's what made me.
Yes, but times have changed.
Well, your time.
When you're entering the music industry, you began as a karaoke dancer, then you become a screen dancer, then the manager, you had to go and work at his place, sleep around. This should not be the way now things should be done. So those that have made it, how are you standing up to say this, that must end? Some of these women have registered success. They own production studios. When you go to the production studios, they're dominated by men. You get it? They're dominated by men.
Songwriters as well. You'll
so-
find a number
yes.
of female songwriters here and there, but most of them are
So I
actually
believe they have not supported,
gentlemen and
but
all
they have
that.
not
but
given
let me
each
say
other a
something.
hand to do that. Despite, I agree with the number of challenges, but you need sometimes to step foot on ground and break
help each
through.
other.
By the
I
way,
think we also have to kind of address the fact that throughout all this whole conversation, there is a man involved somewhere. So what are the men doing actually to also help in the situation? Like Robert, you here telling us, you know what have women done to make sure some of these things stop? But what have men done also to stop some of these acts? Because we know that there are a lot of male figures in the industry. You talk about these music production studios, you'll find that there is a man there who would want to do that, even regardless of knowing that the times have changed. So I think we also have a lot of male figures that are on top of the docket that are still, taking on some of these behaviors. There are a lot of women who have failed at workplaces because of male figures, because of the entitlement, because of, and this is something that people in the music industry have had to face over and over, right from the person writing for you the song, because now, imagine you have to deal with the writer, you have to deal with the producer, you have to deal with the promoter, and a lot of people that have to take on for you to develop your talent. You have the talent, yes, but you cannot just sit with it when you're a new person in that industry. You need people around you that are going to support you in promoting this music. Before it gets to us as the fans and audience, there is a lot that plays there. So I think at one point, we have to also bring in the male factor right there. What are men doing to make sure that some of these things are actually left in the past? Because you can continue talking about this and say, yes, women do this, women stop this, but there are men that are also involved in the same story, because it's not like women are, being hindered by themselves. There is a man right there. So I think we need to have more education on that. People have to be, self-educative about some of these things. Times have changed, and there's a lot that we can change right there.
One of the things that is very hard to handle is celebrity life. As you talk about all these things, I've been here trying to reckon from very various journeys of various musicians. You look at people like Cinderella Sanyu. I think she only came to the scene through Blue 3 or something like that.
The Coca-Cola competition.
And then there was something that happened with the girls, then she had to go solo and all this. Now, that happened. You come to challenges like people like Irene Talley had and how she exited her management. You have challenges that people like Juliana and Namubiru had, and they parted. You want to look at, like you go to performances, people like Mariam Dagire, and she used to have a colleague called Wanyana, which also they parted. Just to mention but a few, very many people. One of the things you must appreciate is that our definition of being celebrated in third world countries is very different from the actual meaning of that word. Every person who tastes a bit of celebration or becomes famous, as it may be, deals with it differently. Because of the failure to have a streamlined industry, Uganda has missed out on very talented people that never see the day of, like never, because of the fears that are in this whole industry. And some of them are self-made. You find you find an infiltration of various aspects that come into this whole thing of the arts and performances. One, the politics. You would want to understand what's the influence on politics on this industry and directly related to women. Two, you come and look at what you call the social welfare. What is the role of family? We have had in this, Robert talked about it. How easy is it for you to understand the motive of someone who is naked always? There are musicians here who have been arrested, even taken to court. He talked about people who are extras in some of these videos and shows and what, and how they come off. But majorly, what is the role of us society? Like you've noticed that we are lured towards what you want to say the bad. For us, that's what we want as a society. When someone sings, and with due respect to the owner of the song, songs like, you know, like the one with Njaye, what, it's what people want. Now that forces and that defines the kind of industry you're going to have and the kind of musicians you're going to have. Now you're talking about mentorship in relation to men, what men can do and what women have done. You cannot give what you don't have. That's why everyone is telling you, I got here this way. That's the much they know about becoming a good artist. Now, they cannot tell you about what they don't know. Now, that brings into government. What is the role of government in organizing this sector? Because if they want to earn from it as they are already earning, I've seen you are almost at everyone's show in this country lately. They are there till morning. They count the people who come in. They want to. So, but what's their contribution as government? We'll be talking about the laws of copyright. What has government done? All these things, the absence of clear regulation is also another challenge. You know, but simply also, if you want to look at it from an angle of gender, you may want to think deeper than that. That should there be that argument, should there be a friction between equity and equality? Is there a myth that probably women are better in this than these people? It brings you back to what I was saying earlier. Sometimes how things are pushed forth may be cut out because of gender. Like it or not. Men may be quick at doing some things than women. For example, if you had a wife who's a musician, how easy is it for her to always be available in bars and nightclubs? Because that's when music or probably the shows happen or what. Vis-a-vis a man. Imagine a woman who has gone through labor. Now you did. Like I saw Carol Casita a couple of months now. She couldn't do much. I used to see her trying to perform, but the stomach was here, and all this. You may want to agree that naturally women might be marginalized naturally to make it to the level of men in this industry. Lastly, the existence of these marginalizations rather cannot be used to keep the women down. However, it is also important for us to rush and find a way to strike a leverage. Now, how should that be done? For example, if you're talking about performances, do we have a law that protects, and this is a general thing, away from just even music and what, do we have a law that protects or helps to protect against abuse, sexual abuse? And this is a general problem. We talked about it even in employment, general employment. What is the law? Is there a vote, probably in the Ministry of Gender or something, that, like I saw the Private Sector Foundation most recent had, I think, the Women Katari? Yes. Something like Women Katari. Yeah. How often do we have such opportunities to give women space that is not competitive in terms of gender? Can we have, because clearly now we have known that when you put them out there for this, there are many things that will keep them down. As a man is there standing up to around the next morning, a woman will tell you, there's a man at home, you know, their kids, their what. Now, when you must be able to create some spaces that are fairly exhibiting what a lack of that unnecessary gender competitiveness. You know, and that's the whole thing. So, as we have this argument, we must create those spaces. For example, when you talk about TV, you know, and all of us have worked in a broadcasting. But if you want a quick journalist, something has happened, instant want news, would you feel comfortable sending a lady than a man?
Yeah, why not?
Well, circumstances, and away from just saying why not, circumstances will determine. We used to have these riots. How many women were you with at the front line when you have these riots in Chiseka?
Very few, it was.
If any. Very few if there was any. But why?
The risks.
It's what I'm saying. The gender,
require...
naturally, we have natural encumbrances that come with it. And that's what I'm saying, that with recognition of these imbalances, we must strive to create non-competitive spaces. For example, when we come to conferences like pageants, beauty pageants, you come to, do we give them an upper hand in areas where we think they can thrive? It brings you back to the argument of equity than equality. When I ask a question like, when you're a very hard place to cover news, like I've told you, riots, and I ask, do you think it's better to send a man there or a woman? And for you, you think, why not? There are many reasons. That's now, for you, you're striking for an equality. But let's give everyone what they need and support they relevantly need. Because when you go to cover these stories in riots, what happens?
You have to run.
Yeah, those.
You have to take cover.
All this kind of things.
Injuries.
Sometimes a woman is putting on a skirt.
Injuries.
Babu Kamiara, for you can't jump. Wear quarter skirt. The bullets are flying, stones are flying. All this kind of things.
Maybe just to put you on hold, we do have some feedback that is coming in from a couple of viewers, and there is one here saying, this is Arthur Ogwal from Hoima City, saying, I think that every gender moves at its own pace, meaning that women are doing slightly well in music, although more can still be done. And Sima from Gulu City is saying, is what is killing artists generally in the music industry without even considering only women is that there is quite a lot of political involvement, and there are certain things that still need to be completed. And he goes ahead to talk about the copyright thing, how it hasn't been done. So probably we still have immature projects that are being shown, being put out there. And there is also another viewer saying there's so many factors that drive an individual to act or otherwise. There is the saying that you can take a horse to a source of water, but you cannot force it to drink. We need to be real. If a woman desires to carry on and have their performance, let's encourage and mentor and also build them. I do interact with so many women in my field, but a bunch of them have a negative default setting which you cannot debunk. Not only that, some of the empowered women are a disgrace to their fellow women. So we need to get serious, especially when it comes to social structures. But you know what? I agree with this gentleman on one of those points where he said some of the women who have actually made it a total disgrace to their fellow women. I will tell you for sure. And again, this really mirrors what we have been talking about here. The women who have gone there, what have they done? How are they being portrayed? How are they portraying? What are they doing to actually show that they deserve some of these positions? And this goes all the way politically, economically, socially, everywhere. It's just even not only on the social scene. So it makes you question, and you're wondering, but now, this woman, what exactly is she doing? What's that? Why is she there? So there is really...
Instead of putting a ladder for others to climb, they're removing the ladder.
Absolutely.
They've made it in the arts
probably
industry.
think she's going to do it different, and she indeed does it differently, but in a negative different, if that makes quite a lot of sense.
And,
so
and that you can't blame on gender then. That you must blame on
probably could we put it on character?
No, it's definitely, and it's how, as I told you, how people make it there determines sometimes so much on how they'll assist others make it there. I've seen it. And if you want even, I've told you, Robert was talking about, you see, that's why I say that we must find some uncompetitive spaces, you know? Like in comedy, the example we gave of Anne Can See Me. Who else?
But do we have to compete?
That's the thing I was saying.
Do we have to compete? For me, that's the thing. I believe in healthy competition.
Is okay.
But what we cannot do away with is that we deal a lot with negative competition here, whether in music industry or not, and comparison. Very, very unhealthy and very toxic. Do we really have to do that? For me, I
Well,
don't find
it's,
any...
but it's what you women ask for. Every time you're talking about equality, what
But
like you're saying
and
here,
that's the
what a
thing.
man can do, what
Yes.
tells you I can't do it? That's already the
thing is
sense
that
of being.
sometimes the situations create feelings like that, because for a person, and but if you listen to these women, they will tell you, I have been blocked on several occasions. I have realized I cannot get into this industry through the nice way. You go to this person, they block you from this corner. You go to this person, they block you from this corner. So as you're talking about us creating spaces that don't really fully involve competition, we need to look at the people who actually start the competition. What happens if you're being blocked from this? Felix, you probably want to do this, you know, you're meant to do this, and you would ideally want to be helped. But to all the places you have gone to, you are actually being blocked. Don't you think these are the people who are initiating the competition? Because you're seeing me as competition if I join the scene. So you have decided to block me from always. Personally, by default, I'm going to look for ways to actually get there. So the competition, they are initiators of the competition, and other people just join into the competition. So we need to look at the people who initiate the competition, which sadly for you could be the men.
And I think
and there is also
it may not necessarily be the men.
It may not even be the men,
but
but
I
the people who are already
think
there, they initiate the competition, the unhealthy competition.
The arts industry has got what they call staying on top of the waters. And some people, in order to stay on top of the waters in the music industry, end up bringing this negativity that you can be forgotten in the music industry if you don't know how to move with the storm. So someone that identify a talented person, all they can do is what Philo is saying, block them. Because once they get to the top of the chart, you can either fail to compete with them, and then you're gone. So how do we guard against that? But also, lastly from me, I think the female or sisters in this industry, also character is very important. Character is very important. And their mindset. I've spoken to some upcoming musicians, and for them, because so and so made it in such a way, they think it is the only way they can still make it. A person moves to a media house, the way they are dressed, the way they are expressing themselves, they are making themselves vulnerable. Not that I condone those that do such, you know. Then one moves with respect. I've already said Juliana Kanyomozi happens to be my best favorite female artist. Why? Because from dress code, from the way someone conducts themselves.
In your opinion.
Okay, in my opinion.
Yes.
I would say in my opinion. There is a way that you feel
make that
certain things could work out for certain people.
Yeah.
Then also there's so much desire to do and be somewhere they are not yet, exposes them and renders them to some dangers. You find an artist
being overly ambitious.
Wanting to live a very expensive life they have not gotten to. Yet we have vampires that are waiting to find, okay, if you want to have a new song, where are my benefits? We have some wrong...
So, Robert, is the problem the vampires or the ambitious person?
The over-ambitious.
Yes, okay. Is the problem the over-ambitious or the vampires?
Is it bad to be...
You know, when you make yourself vulnerable, a musician wants an artist... Today I want a posh house, I want this, in just a twinkle of an eye with one release. So these vampires will be ready waiting.
So the problems are the vampires.
So now the thing is that are we justifying the vampires to be...
I'm not justifying the vampires. But sometimes when you want to run beyond your speed,
no,
who determines the speed,
I think Robert, yeah.
What if we talk about, because you can sit here and talk about the vampires, yes, but how do we get there? I think we're forgetting, like, most of these...
No, but why should there be vampires in the first place? That is what Felix is actually
unnecessary
trying. There shouldn't be any vampires there. There shouldn't be...
You can't blame someone for doing their best to try and...
Because it's like you're justifying, like... For them, they will always be there. It's okay for the vampires to be in existence, okay? And that is wrong on all levels and very upset.
And that's the irony of this discussion, that society has chosen to not talk about the vampires Robert is bringing to the discussion, but always talk about the over, and I want to use Robert's word because he brings it out well, The problem now has become being over ambitious, but not the people who want to cut down these ambitions.
Yes.
And that's why you find discussions like, Robert said it, she has one, so how can she buy such a car? Like, the problem now has shifted from the people who are there to fail other people. And this is why I told you earlier, we must create, and like it or not, uncompetitive spaces, just like the government did in terms of ring fencing some positions. Not that women couldn't, because we have women who have won cards at
directly.
Yes, directly, not women. We have very many, but there was need to create an uncompetitive area, because between you and me, like it or not, pretend or not pretend, there's marginalization. And that is hidden in the things that we created ourselves. Culture, religion, tradition, just to mention but a few. Now, how do you tackle that to suppress from that angle? You must create those uncompetitive areas for them. Because, like why do you think we're adding the 1 point what points to them?
1.5? Yes.
Don't you think we don't have smart? But because there's actually need to deal with this stereotype. And so, clearly, in the art industry, why do you think we don't have Mr. Uganda? Don't we have men who love to walk around with their chests and buttocks and what? Don't you think they are there? But why do we have only Miss Uganda? Those are some of the uncompetitive spaces we need to create for these women. If we could do more, when you come to Miss Tourism, why don't you? Have you heard of Mr. Tourism? I don't know if he's there, but I've not heard of.
I don't think I've heard of him.
Those are
either.
things we must ignite more and more. These uncompetitive spaces for the women. When you have Miss Tourism, Central Region, Eastern, West, that is what we need to do more. Like when you go to, you've seen some of these TV movies, series, we must cut out some roles and say these roles will be done by, and it has worked elsewhere in the world. Yeah. It has worked. When you come to some positions.
I get it, Felix. I think what women want, they want those roles to be cut. I mean, those positions or responsibilities to be cut out almost in all sectors. And that's where the problem comes.
Well, so, have you ever seen, like, if they say we're going to start running, we have a marathon, let's say between Molen or myself, and our destiny is getting seated down there. Now, but me, I am standing at the gate of
UBC.
Kingdom. Is it called Kingdom what?
Kampala. Kingdom or something.
This next
Kingdom
building.
Kampala, yes.
Yeah, where my former school used to be. And that's where I'm standing. Molen is standing here. You get it? But we're supposed to, their destiny is the same. That's the feeling of women and men. And that's why I personally think that the creation of these safe spaces is important, because we are in already a very unfair competition.
Yes.
And in terms of
even naturally,
everything,
by the way, naturally.
That's what I'm saying.
I think it's acknowledgement of that natural.
The greatest mistake we can ever make is to pretend like there's no problem.
Well,
I actually do agree with Felix on that. We do have, we need those complementary spaces that are there. My concern is only on the fact that we shouldn't again take women away from the open spaces that are there and say, you know what, stick to the supplementary spaces that we've created for you. Let's also be, you know, if a woman says, I am okay being in this field, let them be given the same opportunity. I think that's what women are trying to say. Yeah. Let us be given the same opportunity. Even when those supplementary spaces are there, we can still take that as an advantage, especially to create an order on some of the natural imbalances that are basically there. So if you say that, okay, now that we have this space for you, how about you don't really be in here because there is a lot of competition? It's always going to be competition, even in the spaces that we're talking about. There is competition, yes.
No, that is good competition.
We just need at least
fair competition.
the same fairness we need even in the male-dominated spaces.
The thing is, give people the opportunity, let them prove themselves worthy of these opportunities or not.
Of course,
it shouldn't be, they never gave me the opportunity.
That's
no,
the thing.
It's like a parent will tell you, I paid fees.
There's going to be other girls. It's not like you're going to you're going to
exactly
come with your head and hair.
Anyway, we could go on and on and on, but This issue of gender, it's quite very expansive. But for now, we'll be looking at some of the big stories in the Daily Nation and the Citizen as well, starting off with the Daily Nation campaign of defiance. And opposition chief announces massive procession set for Nairobi on 20th March. And still in the Daily Nation this Friday morning, looking at donor demands refund of stolen 40 million Kenyan shillings. Of course, looking at more corruption scandals. Oh, it's quite interesting. And Parliament CSs to appear before House in new changes. And also, I can't believe DNA test finding that he's not my son. Who is talking about this? Well, you can find that in the Daily Nation this morning. The Citizen new agreement said to give local startups a big boost. Samia's influence in tourism rebound. They're showing you quite some statistics about 900,000 in 2021. You're looking at 2.641 billion Tanzanian shillings. Tanzanian appointed to Global Auditors Board. Why NMB Bank opted to list Jasiri bond on Luxembourg bourse. Well, all of that in the Citizen this morning. So yes, go ahead, get yourself a copy of each of these 4 dailies: New Vision, Daily Monitor, the Daily Nation, and the Citizen, and to get a hold of all these stories and more. We'll be back after the break.
Of the day on UBC.
If I'm looking at issues of taxation and all that, I will definitely run for the Kateshumbas. Okay? If I look at, if I'm looking at issues of investments and what, I would definitely run. I would definitely run for Dr. Emure Kugonza and Honorable Omara. Okay? If I'm looking at issues of the law, I will run for our very, very own people. I have the Oboso bosses, I have the Katuntus, I have the Robin Arwakojos. So everyone is talented in one way or another.
Did you mention Katuntu?
Okay. Yes.
Is he yours?
Yes, he is.
Yours as in NRM?
He is.
Was brought to you by MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your money to complete your transaction. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Committee of North Chigezi Diocese is delighted to inform the public of the consecration and enthronement service of Reverend Onesimus Asiwe as the 6th Bishop of North Chigezi Diocese on Sunday, 12th of March, 2023 at Emmanuel Cathedral, Chinyasano, Bukunjiri at 9 a.m. The chief guest is His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda. RSVP Honorable Major General Jim Muhwezi, Minister of Security and Chairperson Consecration and Enthronement.
Water and Environment Week is back. Join us as we deliver value internally and externally by promoting a multinational integrated approach that links all sectors of water and environment and also explore and deliberate on the water and environment resources to climate resilience. The week commemorates 3 sector days of World Water Day, World Forestry Day, and World Meteorological Day. The Uganda Water and Environment Week will take place from 12th to 17th March 2023 at the Ministry of Water and Environment headquarters in Luzira under the theme Water and Environment for Climate Resilient Development. Uganda Water and Environment Week is organized by Ministry of Water and Environment.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile. Because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens, our nice good weather, and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different, even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink, Hallelujah Jangati drink, and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Hallelujah Reflexology, Healthy Solutions, and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah from all shops around.
Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaking down! Dial star 149 star 10 hash to load the Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers, voice and data.
Dial star 149 star 10 star 5 hash. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or give the bundle today. Dial star 149 star 10 hash to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Good morning, Uganda. It is still a Friday special for us here, but also we want to share what is happening here with you. Right now, we're looking at the weather updates across the country. We will be tapping in from our satellites over Uganda. And we did start off with quite some rains across the Lake Victoria Basin, parts of Entebbe, Kampala. We're looking at areas of Wakiso as well, Mukono. Even we still have that rainy system that is likely spreading your way and could be bringing rains and more rains this morning, especially for the areas around Lake Victoria. That takes in parts of Jinja as well, where we're seeing a few rains even as we speak coming through, and towards areas of Mbale. That is the rainy system right there. It is still spreading, could actually go further into the central part of the country. We're also looking at areas of Mubende, where we're having quite cloudy weather for now, but we do expect that there will also be rains coming through as the day progresses. We're looking at cloudy weather as well. That is for the southwestern part of the country. We're looking at also areas of Fort Portal, where we do have those blue colors right there. That is indicating cloudy weather across that area. Most likely that will be bringing us rains also for southwestern Uganda. We do have more clouds that are also developing for the midwestern part of the country. We're looking at Hoima, areas of Masindi as well. Are likely to be having rains also later in the day. That same system is actually extending all the way across the western stretch, so most likely we'll also be having more rains, especially across the northwestern part of the country, areas of Arua, Yumbe. Right now we do have cloudy weather, but we expect that we might be dealing with a little bit of rains. Quite some good news over there, because that area has been having mostly dry weather. We're also having the darker colors right there, indicating a sunny morning that is across areas of central northern Uganda for Padel, Gulu, as well as Kitgum. We're looking at Moroto as well. Much of the Karamoja region are starting off with mostly sunny weather. Same for eastern Uganda, Amuria, Soroti. We're looking at a sunny morning for you, but we do have clouds that are developing over there. That is extending all the way from the eastern part of Lake Victoria, but we're already seeing some rains coming towards areas of Tororo, so that could actually bring in temperatures down for that area. Otherwise, we are keeping eyes on that system that is originating, that is from the southern part of the Lake Victoria Basin. Most likely that is the one that will be spreading more rains towards the Lake Victoria Basin. That is for parts of Kampala as well as Mukono. We also look at areas within that is Wakiso as well as Entebbe. Now looking at the bigger picture, that is from the forecast models that we do have, that is from the medium range forecasts across Africa. We're looking at what is likely to happen even as we head into the weekend. We want to look at into that. We do know that for this time of the year, the seasonal forecast has been issued, and looks like much of the southern sector will be having rains compared to the rest of the country, and we're already seeing an onset of those. Now for your Saturday, you can expect to have more rains. That is across mostly the southwestern part of the country. That is where we do have areas of Kabale, Kisoro. Do expect more rains for you tomorrow. You do have more rains developing for the Rwenzori area, so that is around Kasese. That is where we're seeing the green line colors on the map right there. And we also have at least rains expected to pick up for Midwestern Uganda. So Hoima, areas of Fort Portal as well, Tungamo, we're looking at more rains likely to pick up for tomorrow. Still the same conditions are projected for the Lake Victoria Basin. That is also more to the eastern side. We're looking at areas of Tororo as well. We're looking at Jinja. We could be having more rains coming your way by tomorrow. Now as we head into Sunday, well, that is when we have more rains coming through, and I think that's going to be quite a packed one, especially for the western stretch where we have the green colors right there. That is indicating at least moderate to heavy rains expected for that area. We're taking in areas of that is Midwestern still across the Rwenzori area. Stretches all the way from Hoima towards areas of Fort Portal, Rwenzori, that is Kasese, Bwera. We are looking at that area, and extending all the way to Rukunjiri, Ntungamo, Kisoro, Kabale. You can expect to have more rains into your Sunday. Now, where we also have the darker blue colors, that is the Lake Victoria Basin towards parts of Central. So that means Luwero, Woblenzi, extending all the way up to Nakasongola. We could also be dealing with much more rains for Sunday. And we're also looking at more pickup towards the eastern part of the country. That is extending to the light blue colors right there on the map, indicating that we could have a pickup in wet weather activities for areas of that is Tororo as well as Soroti and Amuria. We could be looking at more pickup in terms of wet weather conditions as well for parts of central northern Uganda. Otherwise, Karamoja region, much of Karamoja region, the northwestern part of the country is expected to remain equally dry, with mostly dry conditions expected over there. So yes, if you were to make a choice in terms of basing off on when you'll have a rainy day between Sunday and Saturday, Sunday seems to be more rainy, although for different areas, especially the southern half of the country, we're still going to have those rains for the southern part of the country. Now, away from the weather, we also want to look at what is happening in entertainment for this weekend. We talk about Saturday and Sunday, but also for today, what is new, what is showing in terms of movies, maybe also if you need a good read. Now, if you are someone who loves cinema and, you know, maybe movies, and you want to catch one this weekend, we're talking about, you know, celebrating women and, you know, what women have had to go through and stuff. This is a movie that is now showing in cinema. That is the movie Maybe I Do. It looks at a scenario of a couple that is trying to get married. Actually, I think that was a try. But with the relationship at a crossroad, Michelle and Alan invite their parents to finally meet. As it turns out, their parents already know each other, maybe a little too well. That's quite drama. There is comedy, there is drama, and a lot of things that could go wrong on a wedding day. Let's take a look into that trailer.
You walk out that door, I'm gonna feed you whatever you can get away with. That's how it's done?
Those are professionals. Where the hell's a ring?
Yeah. Possibly have in common. Hey!
You can't kill me now. I got company.
Guess what? I'm the company. That's what your wife told me your daughter.
Anyone care for a drink?
Mostly you.
Quite a lot of comedy in that movie. It is now showing in cinema, and of course you can catch it in any of your favorite places. And also what is showing this weekend is a movie that is quite, this one you have to be really, really careful. If you don't love seeing some of the, viewer discretion or something, some images might not be good, especially if you're someone who is afraid of death or blood or horrors. It's all horror. Cocaine Bear, that is the movie talking about after 500-pound black bear consumes a significant amount of cocaine and embarks on a drug-fueled rampage. And this is a gathering of cops, criminals, tourists, and teenagers that assembled in a forest. Now, this is a rampage, and it is leaving a lot of death in its wake. That's the movie. That is the Cocaine Bear. Let's look into the trailer. The Cocaine Bear right there, and I think when we talk about doing drugs, they are not just dangerous to human beings but to animals too, because then that gives a, secondary danger. That is the movie, but a lot is involved right there. There is a storyline. You can also catch that movie. It is now showing in cinema. But one that is coming out today, and I think there is a lot that has been on the line waiting for this movie. Well, it's probably a favorite for this weekend, 65. That is the movie, and featuring one of the favorite actors. If you are a lover of Star Wars, you would know him for much of his role as a villain or even as, Darth Vader. We're talking about Adam. He is back, and we're in a story where we're looking at after a catastrophic crash on a known planet, pilot Mills quickly discovers that he's actually stranded on Earth. And 65 million years ago, now, with only one chance at rescue, Mills and the only other survivor, Cora, must make their way across the unknown terrain. And that is riddled with dangerous prehistorical creatures. Well, that is Adam Driver right there, bringing in the story to life. That is coming out today and will be streaming in cinema. Let's look into the trailer for that. Adam Driver right there in the movie 65, taking you back. Imagine yourself going back 65 million years ago. That is way beyond, and a lot of things probably were there. And I don't want to go back there. This is a movie and has a lot, of course, with the challenges faced, and of course he brings in the action. I don't know what is the relationship with this man and the space things, just from Star Wars now to 65. It looks like he's very good at some of these space characters, and quite a good one that you would be able to catch. It is coming out today. And of course, if you need to add on that and get a good read for yourself, some of the things, some of the daily mundane things that you could do to get yourself in a good place when it comes to emotional intelligence. That is a book that I'm recommending for you this Friday. Look at some of these tips, some of the tips that are given out in the book. That is the language of emotional intelligence. Now, sometimes it is said that not everyone is able to understand what emotional intelligence is, but here is a guide giving you 5 essential tools for building powerful and effective relationships. I think a lot of us could actually use most of these tools that you work with on a daily. This is a book, and it is written by Sean Segal, one of the top actors in Hollywood, and of course he has also gotten a lot of awards from this book, and attaining one after he first published this book. That was way back in 2008, but it has now evolved. We have had a lot of writers actually do a lot in relationship to the same book. We've also had a lot of rewrites about the language of emotional intelligence. So that is just how to learn to increase your emotions with 5 simple tools. But also, it is no secret that emotional intelligence plays a crucial role in your relationship. Now, how do you apply these specialized skills in everyday life? That is the book to look out for. Already giving from Goodreads, giving it that is 3.8 over 5, and Google users also giving it 95% read right over there. A lot of book reviews have also been done on this book, and found that it is actually a powerful tool when it comes to dealing with everyday life. So that is one for you, and of course you do have a lot of plans to go for this weekend. Now, what we also have in line for you is what to look out in terms of sports. We'll be having more highlights also coming in with the sports section. We still have Good Morning Uganda Friday special going on. We'll take quite a short break for now. When we get back, we continue with more coming your way.